I woke up to the sound of construction equipment on what I thought was my private stretch of Maine coastline, the pristine land my grandfather had left me in his will. Through the morning fog, I could make out yellow bulldozers carving into the sandy soil where nothing but sea grass and wildflowers had grown for decades. My coffee mug nearly slipped from my hand as I counted not one, not two, but what appeared to be the beginnings of multiple foundation sites. My name is Carson Ingram, and until that morning, I'd been living a peaceful life in the modest cabin my grandfather built on the edge of our family's 20-acre coastal property near Portland. I'd inherited it 5 years ago and had been working remotely as a software developer, enjoying the solitude and natural beauty. The property was my sanctuary, and now it was being invaded. I threw on a jacket and rushed outside, still in my pajama bottoms. As I approached the construction site, a woman with a clipboard and a fluorescent safety vest spotted me and frowned. Her perfectly styled blonde hair seemed impervious to the coastal wind. "Sir, this is a restricted construction zone." "You'll need to leave immediately," she said, her voice sharp and practiced. "Leave? This is my property," I replied, gesturing wildly at the bulldozers. "What the hell is going on here?" She arched an eyebrow. "Your property? No, I'm afraid you're mistaken. This land belongs to the Ocean View Shores Homeowners Association. We're developing a premium beachfront community." She extended a manicured hand. "I'm Patricia Wilson, HOA president, and you are?" "Carson Ingram, the owner of this land." I refused to shake her hand. "I have the deed to prove it." Patricia's smile never reached her eyes. "Mr. Ingram, I assure you all permits and ownership documents have been properly filed. Perhaps you're confused about the property lines. Your cabin is over there." She pointed dismissively toward my home. "This development is fully sanctioned by the county." A man in a hard hat approached us. "Everything okay, Patty?" "Fine, Douglas. Just explaining to this gentleman that he's trespassing on HOA property." I stood my ground. "I'm not trespassing. My grandfather, Harold Ingram, left me this entire stretch of coastline 20 acres from the forest line to the high tide mark. I've been paying property taxes on it for 5 years. Patricia's smile tightened. "Well, the county records must be incorrect. We've purchased this land through proper channels. Now, if you'll excuse us, we have 19 luxury beach houses to build." She turned away, effectively dismissing me. I pulled out my phone and started taking photos of the construction site, the equipment, and the workers. "This isn't over," I called after her. Patricia paused and turned back. "Mr. Ingram, I suggest you check your facts before making accusations. The Ocean View Shores HOA doesn't make mistakes." Her voice dropped to a near whisper, "And we don't appreciate troublemakers." I returned to my cabin and immediately called my friend Tara Mitchell, a real estate attorney I'd met during a property dispute with a neighbor 2 years prior. "They're doing what?" Tara asked after I explained the situation. "Building beach houses. 19 of them, according to the HOA president. On my land, Tara." "That's impossible. Have you checked your property records recently?" "Not in the past year or so," I admitted. "But I have the deed in my safe. Nothing should have changed." "Meet me at the county records office in an hour," Tara said firmly, "and bring every document you have related to that property." At the county records office, a disturbing picture began to emerge. According to the most recent filings, a company called Coastal Development LLC had purchased 15 acres of my property 6 months ago. The transaction showed a signature that resembled mine but was clearly forged. "This is fraud," I said, my hands shaking as I held the papers. "I never sold any of my land." Tara examined the documents with a frown. "The paperwork looks legitimate at first glance. They even have a notarized signature." She looked up at me. "Someone went to a lot of trouble to make this look real." "What do we do? They've already started construction." Tara thought for a moment. "We could file for an emergency injunction to halt construction while we sort this out, but that could take weeks, maybe months to resolve." I stared at the fraudulent documents, my mind racing. Then an idea struck me, one that might seem crazy, but just might work. What if we let them build? Let them build. Tara looked at me like I'd lost my mind. Carson, they're stealing your land. Hear me out. The deed I have proves the land is mine. The transfer document is forged. Eventually, I'll win in court, right? In theory, yes. But so what if we gather evidence of the fraud, document everything, but let them complete the construction? Then when they're finished. Tara's eyes widened as she caught on. You sue for both the land and the improvements made to it. She let out a low whistle. That's either brilliant or insane. If you lose, you've wasted months and they've developed your property. But if I win? If you win, you get 19 beach houses for the cost of legal fees. Tara shook her head. It's risky, very risky. I want to do it, I said firmly. But I need your help. Over the next week, Tara and I compiled evidence of the fraud. We hired a handwriting expert to examine the forged signature, tracked down the notary who supposedly witnessed my signature, who turned out to be Patricia's sister-in-law, and documented the ongoing construction with daily photos and videos. Meanwhile, I had to watch as my peaceful coastline was transformed. Trees were cut down, sand dunes leveled, and concrete foundations poured. Each morning brought new trucks, more workers, and further destruction of the natural landscape I loved. Patricia Wilson made a point of visiting the site daily, often parking her luxury SUV near my cabin and walking the perimeter of what she claimed was HOA property. She would glance at my cabin and smirk, as if daring me to challenge her. One afternoon, about 2 weeks into the construction, she approached me as I sat on my porch. Mr. Ingram, I thought we should chat, she said, climbing the steps uninvited. I understand you've been asking questions around town. I remained seated, just trying to understand how my property was sold without my knowledge. Patricia sighed dramatically. Look, I realize you're attached to this area. Perhaps we can come to an arrangement. The HOA might be willing to offer you a discounted rate on one of our beach houses. You could be part of our community instead of fighting it. A discounted rate, on my own property. It's not your property anymore, Mr. Ingram. The sooner you accept that, the easier this will be for everyone. I leaned forward. Who's behind Coastal Development LLC, Patricia? Her smile faltered slightly. That's not really your concern. It is when they've forged my signature to steal my land. Patricia's expression hardened. Be careful making accusations you can't prove, Mr. Ingram. The HOA has excellent lawyers and we protect our interests aggressively. She stood up. This is happening whether you like it or not. The smart move would be to join us. I'll think about it, I lied. As Patricia walked back to her SUV, I texted Tara. HOA president just tried to bribe me with a discounted beach house. Her reply came quickly. Record everything from now on, everything. The construction continued at a rapid pace. Within a month, the frames of the houses were up, giving a clear view of what the development would look like: a row of identical luxury beach houses, each with large windows facing the ocean, expansive decks, and private walkways to the beach. I had to admit they were impressive structures, even as I hated what they represented. Throughout this time, I maintained a friendly facade with the construction workers, occasionally bringing them coffee or donuts. From them, I learned that the HOA had rushed the permits through using connections at the county office, and that the houses were already being marketed to wealthy out-of-state buyers at prices starting at $1.2 million each. We're supposed to have all 19 finished before the 4th of July weekend, one electrician told me. Some big unveiling ceremony planned. The HOA lady is pretty intense about the deadline. This information gave me and Tara a timeline. We continued building our case, careful not to tip our hand too early. Tara discovered that Coastal Development LLC was registered to Douglas Harper, the same Douglas who had approached Patricia that first day. Further digging revealed he was not only Patricia's brother-in-law, but also a county commissioner who had helped fast-track the development permits. It's a family operation, Tara explained during one of our strategy sessions. Patricia's husband, Robert Wilson, is the main investor, Douglas Harper handles the government connections, and Patricia runs the HOA with an iron fist. So they're all in on the fraud, I said. Looks that way, and there's more. They've done this before. Tara showed me reports from 2 other coastal Maine communities where similar developments had appeared after questionable land acquisitions. In both cases, complaints had been filed but mysteriously dropped. How do they keep getting away with it? I asked. Money and connections, Tara said simply. Until now, they've targeted elderly landowners or absentee owners who could be intimidated or bought off. You're different, younger, present, and unwilling to back down. And I have you, I added. As spring turned to early summer, the houses took shape with remarkable speed. Windows were installed, interiors finished, and landscaping begun. Signs appeared at the entrance to the development. Ocean View Shores exclusive luxury living by invitation only. Patricia began conducting tours for potential buyers, leading groups of wealthy-looking people through the nearly completed houses. I watched from a distance, documenting everything with my camera's zoom lens. One evening in late June, just a week before the planned grand opening, I received a certified letter from the Ocean View Shores HOA. It stated that my non-conforming dwelling, my grandfather's cabin, was in violation of HOA covenants and must be brought up to community standards or demolished within 30 days. They can't be serious, I said to Tara over the phone. They're trying to force me off my own land they stole from me. It's a pressure tactic, Tara replied. They're worried you'll make trouble at their grand opening, but this actually helps us. It's further evidence of their bad faith actions. The next day, I was approached by a man in an expensive suit as I returned from a grocery run. He introduced himself as Robert Wilson, Patricia's husband and the CEO of Coastal Development, LLC. Mr. Ingram, I understand there's been some confusion regarding your property situation, he said smoothly. I thought it was time we spoke directly, man to man. I crossed my arms. Nothing confusing about it. Your company forged documents to steal my land. Wilson didn't flinch. Strong accusations require strong evidence, Mr. Ingram. But I'm not here to argue. I'm here to offer you a solution that benefits everyone. I'm listening. $500,000, cash. You sign a non-disclosure agreement, drop any claims to the property, and relocate. We'll even cover your moving expenses. I pretended to consider it. And if I refuse? Wilson's friendly demeanor cooled. Then things become unnecessarily difficult. Your cabin will be found in violation of multiple county codes. Your property taxes will be reassessed. Ocean View Shores has many friends in the county government, Mr. Ingram. Fighting us would be costly. Sounds like a threat. Just explaining the reality of the situation. Wilson handed me a business card. Take a day to think it over. Call me when you're ready to be reasonable. As soon as he left, I called Tara and relayed the conversation. We've got them worried, she said. They wouldn't offer that much if they weren't concerned about your claim, but we need to move carefully now. They clearly have no problem playing dirty. The grand opening was scheduled for July 2nd, just 3 days away. According to my construction worker sources, all 19 houses were essentially complete, with just final touches being applied. The HOA had organized a lavish ceremony, with local officials, potential buyers, and even regional media invited to celebrate the new, exclusive community. On July 1st, I received another visitor, Douglas Harper, the county commissioner and Patricia's brother-in-law. Unlike Robert Wilson's smooth approach, Harper was blunt. "This is your last chance to take the deal," he said, not bothering with pleasantries. "After tomorrow, it's off the table." "And what happens then?" I asked. "Then we make your life difficult until you give up and leave anyway, but without the money." He leaned closer. "I can tie up any legal challenge you make for years. I can have your property reassessed so high you'll never afford the taxes. I can have building inspectors find so many violations in that shack you call a home that you'll be living in a tent. I nodded calmly. Sounds like you've got it all figured out. We do. So what's it going to be? I think I'll come to your grand opening tomorrow, I said. See my new neighbors. Harper's face reddened. You're making a mistake, Ingram. After he left, I called Tara. Time to execute our plan. They're getting desperate. I've filed everything with the court, she confirmed. We're ready whenever you are. The morning of July 2nd dawned bright and clear, perfect weather for a beachfront property unveiling. By 9 a.m., the development was buzzing with activity. Workers made last-minute adjustments to landscaping. A catering company set up tables with champagne flutes, and a small stage had been erected with a podium, and a large ribbon stretched between two of the beach houses. Around 10 a.m., guests began to arrive, well-dressed couples climbing out of luxury cars, local officials shaking hands and posing for photos, and reporters setting up cameras. Patricia Wilson presided over it all, resplendent in a white designer suit, directing staff and greeting VIPs with practiced charm. I watched from my cabin, waiting for the right moment. At 11:30, Tara texted me, "In position with Sheriff Williams, ready when you are." At noon, Patricia took the stage and tapped the microphone. The crowd of about 100 people quieted. "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the grand opening of Oceanview Shores." Her voice carried across the property. Today marks the beginning of Maine's most exclusive coastal community, a testament to luxury living in harmony with nature's beauty. The crowd applauded politely as Patricia continued her speech, praising the vision of Coastal Development LLC, thanking county officials for their support, and outlining the rigorous standards that the HOA would maintain. Each of our 19 beachfront properties represents the pinnacle of coastal living, with sustainable design, state-of-the-art amenities, and unparalleled views, she gushed. And I'm thrilled to announce that 14 of our homes have already been reserved by discerning buyers. More applause. Patricia beamed. Now, before we cut the ribbon and invite you all to tour these magnificent homes, I'd like to introduce the visionary behind Oceanview Shores, my husband, Robert Wilson. As Robert took the stage, I texted Tara, "Moving in now." I walked calmly across my property, approaching the gathering from the side. A few people noticed me, my casual jeans and T-shirt, a stark contrast to their formal attire, but most were focused on Robert's speech about community values and exclusive living. I reached the edge of the crowd just as Robert was concluding. And so, without further ado, I invite you all to witness the official opening of Oceanview Shores. Patricia rejoined him on stage, along with Douglas Harper and several other officials. They posed with oversized scissors, ready to cut the ceremonial ribbon. That's when I stepped forward. "Excuse me," I called out clearly. "Before you cut that ribbon, I think there's something everyone here should know." The crowd parted as I walked toward the stage. Patricia's smile froze, Robert's eyes widened, and Douglas Harper visibly paled. "This is a private event," Patricia hissed into the microphone. "Security?" "Actually," I continued, projecting my voice so everyone could hear, "this is my property, all of it. Including all 19 of those beach houses you've built." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. 2 security guards moved toward me but hesitated when Sheriff Williams and Tara appeared at my side. "This man is Carson Ingram," Tara announced clearly. "The legal owner of this entire 20-acre property, as confirmed by the Superior Court of Cumberland County this morning." Sheriff Williams nodded. "I have court orders here confirming Mr. Ingram's ownership claim and authorizing me to serve notice to the individuals responsible for fraudulent property transactions." The crowd's murmurs grew louder. Several potential buyers began backing away toward their cars. Patricia grabbed the microphone. "This is absurd. We have all the proper documentation. This man is disturbed and is making false claims to disrupt our community." I climbed onto the stage, Sheriff Williams beside me. "What I have here," I said, pulling documents from a folder Tara handed me, "is the original deed to this property passed down from my grandfather. I also have court documentation proving that the transfer of this land to Coastal Development LLC involved forged signatures and fraudulent notarization. Robert Wilson tried to interject, but the sheriff raised a hand to stop him. "Mr. Wilson, I have warrants for the arrest of you, Mrs. Wilson and Mr. Harper on charges of real estate fraud, forgery, filing false documents, and conspiracy." The chaos that followed was something to behold. Patricia screamed that this was all a misunderstanding. Robert attempted to flee, but was quickly detained by deputies who had been stationed around the perimeter. Douglas Harper simply sat down on the stage, head in his hands. The potential buyers and guests scattered, many demanding to know if they could get their deposits back. Reporters who had come to cover a simple ribbon cutting suddenly found themselves with a much bigger story. As the three main conspirators were led away in handcuffs, I turned to address the remaining crowd, which now consisted mostly of confused construction workers and catering staff. "I want to make something clear," I announced. "I have no issue with the people who built these houses or who worked on this project in good faith. My quarrel is only with those who attempted to steal my land through fraud." One of the construction foremen approached me. "So what happens now?" "With the houses, I mean." It was a good question. 19 luxury beach houses now stood on my property, houses I now legally owned. "I'm still figuring that out," I admitted, "but I'll make sure it's something that respects both the land and the community." Over the following weeks, the legal aftermath unfolded. Patricia, Robert, and Douglas were charged with multiple felonies. The investigation expanded to include their previous developments, and 2 more county officials were implicated in the scheme. Their method had been consistent: identify valuable coastal properties, forge documents to transfer ownership to their company, develop quickly, sell the properties, and move on before anyone could mount an effective legal challenge. The media dubbed it the HOA heist, and it became a cautionary tale about homeowners associations gone rogue. Former victims of the scheme came forward, and a class action lawsuit was formed. As for me, I suddenly found myself the owner of 19 luxury beach houses valued at over $22 million. After much consideration, and with Tara's legal guidance, I decided to create a legitimate, transparent homeowners association, one that would maintain the properties while adhering to environmental standards and community values. I sold 15 of the houses at fair market value, using much of the proceeds to establish a conservation trust for the remaining undeveloped portions of my land. The other 4 houses I converted into affordable vacation rentals for families who could never afford to buy such properties, families like mine had been before my grandfather's lucky land purchase decades ago. The irony wasn't lost on me. I had become the president of a homeowners association. But unlike Patricia Wilson, my HOA would prioritize community over exclusivity, conservation over profit, and honesty over deception. 6 months after the failed grand opening, I sat on my cabin porch watching families enjoy the beach, some from the luxury homes, others from the vacation rentals, all sharing the same sand and surf. Tara joined me, handing me a coffee. "Still can't believe how this all turned out," I said, shaking my head. "From nearly losing my land to becoming the landlord of a beach community. Justice works in strange ways sometimes," Tara replied. "Patricia and her family will be serving time, the other victims are getting compensation, and you've turned something corrupt into something good." "I just wish my grandfather could see it," I mused. "He always said this land was meant to be shared, not hoarded." We sat in comfortable silence, watching the sunset paint the ocean gold. A family walked by, children laughing as they collected seashells. They waved, and I waved back, a simple gesture that somehow embodied everything I wanted for this place. The legal battles weren't entirely over. There were still claims to settle, testimonies to give, and decisions to make about the future of Oceanview Shores. But for the first time in months, I felt at peace with the transformation of my property. I'd let the fraudsters build their beach houses on my land, only to reclaim it all in the end, not just the property, but also the sense of justice that comes from standing your ground against those who think their money and connections place them above the law. As winter approached, I found myself reflecting on the events of the past year while finalizing the new HOA bylaws with Tara's help. We were determined to create a structure that could never be weaponized the way Patricia had used the previous HOA. Property maintenance requirements, yes, but with reasonable standards, I said, reviewing the document. No arbitrary aesthetic judgments or excessive fines. And transparent financial management, Tara added. All homeowners get full access to the books, and major expenditures require a majority vote. We had also included strong environmental protections for the undeveloped portions of the land and established beach access rights for the public, something Patricia's HOA would have never allowed. One cold December afternoon, as I was going through some of the paperwork the police had recovered from Coastal Development LLC's offices, I discovered something disturbing. Patricia's group hadn't just targeted my property on a whim. They had been systematically acquiring coastal properties throughout the region, often using the same fraudulent methods. I immediately called Tara. "You need to see this." They had plans for over a dozen more developments along the coast. When Tara arrived, we spread the documents across my kitchen table: maps, property records, and lists of potential targets, many of them elderly landowners or people who lived out of state. This was going to be their biggest operation yet, Tara observed, examining a regional map with highlighted properties. "Your land was just the beginning. We need to warn these people," I said. Over the next few weeks, Tara and I contacted every property owner on Patricia's list, alerting them to the scheme and advising them to check their property records for any unusual activity. 3 of them discovered fraudulent documents had already been filed, which they were able to challenge and overturn thanks to our warning. In January, the criminal trials began. I testified about the forgery of my signature and the intimidation tactics used against me. Construction workers testified about the rushed building schedule and corners that had been cut. County clerks admitted to accepting bribes to expedite permits and overlook regulatory issues. Patricia maintained her innocence throughout, portraying herself as merely the HOA president who had no knowledge of her husband's and brother-in-law's fraudulent activities. But emails and text messages proved otherwise, showing she had been the mastermind, identifying targets and coordinating the scheme while keeping her public image squeaky clean. The trial lasted 3 weeks, ending with guilty verdicts for all 3 main defendants. Patricia was sentenced to 8 years in federal prison for fraud, conspiracy, and racketeering. Robert received 6 years, and Douglas 5, with all 3 ordered to pay substantial restitution to their victims. As spring returned to the Maine coast, my new community began to take shape. The luxury homes had new owners, a mix of year-round residents and summer people, all of whom had purchased their properties legally and with full knowledge of the HOA's new, more equitable rules. The vacation rental houses were fully booked for the coming season, mostly by families who could never afford to buy in such a location, but could manage a week's rental for a special vacation. I had kept the rates deliberately affordable, wanting to share the beauty of the coast with people from all walks of life. My grandfather's cabin remained my home, though I had made some modest improvements: a new roof, updated plumbing, and solar panels. I'd resisted Patricia's assessment that it was a shack, preserving its rustic character while making it more comfortable and environmentally sustainable. One warm May evening, almost a year after I'd first spotted the bulldozers on my land, I hosted a community gathering on the beach. Residents from the luxury homes mingled with locals and the first vacation rental families of the season. We roasted marshmallows over fire pits, played music, and shared stories as the sun set over the Atlantic, Tara joined me at the edge of the gathering. "You've created something special here, Carson," she said, gesturing to the diverse group of people enjoying the beach. "Something genuine." I nodded, watching a group of children from different families building an elaborate sand castle together. It's what this place was always meant to be, not exclusive, not gated off, just a beautiful piece of coastline where people can connect with nature and each other. And all because you had the patience to let them build those houses before dropping the legal hammer, Tara laughed. Most people would have tried to stop the construction immediately. "Sometimes the best revenge is letting people dig their own graves," I replied. "Or in this case, build 19 beach houses on someone else's land." As night fell and stars appeared above the ocean, I reflected on how differently things could have turned out. If Patricia had approached me honestly from the beginning, offering to purchase part of my land for a fair price, I might have considered it. Instead, her greed and dishonesty had cost her everything, while ironically giving me more than I'd ever imagined. The new Ocean View Shores wasn't just a collection of buildings, it was becoming a true community. One founded on values of transparency, equity, and respect for both the natural environment and the diverse people who wished to enjoy it. In the end, Patricia's HOA scheme had failed spectacularly, not just because of the legal consequences, but because it had been built on a foundation of exclusion and deception. My version succeeded precisely because it embraced the opposite principles: inclusion, honesty, and a genuine desire to share rather than hoard the beauty of Maine's coast. As the community gathering wound down and people began heading back to their homes, the luxury residences, the vacation rentals, my cabin, and the nearby town, I felt a deep satisfaction that transcended the legal victory. I had not only reclaimed my property, but had transformed it into something that honored my grandfather's legacy while creating something new and meaningful. The deed that had proven my ownership was now framed on my cabin wall, a reminder that standing up for what's rightfully yours can sometimes lead to unexpected blessings. Beside it hung a simple sign that now greeted visitors to Ocean View Shores. "All are welcome here." The HOA still existed, but as a tool for community governance rather than control and exclusion. We had regular meetings where every voice was heard, decisions were made by consensus wherever possible, and the focus remained on stewarding the land rather than maximizing property values. I sometimes wondered what Patricia thought about all this from her prison cell, how her vision of an exclusive enclave had been transformed into something so different. I hoped that perhaps she was learning something about the true meaning of community and the hollow nature of exclusivity. As for me, I had found a new purpose. Beyond my software development work, I now advised other communities on creating equitable HOA structures and helped victims of real estate fraud reclaim their properties. The experience had taught me valuable lessons about patience, strategy, and the importance of fighting the right battles at the right time. The 19 beach houses that now stood on my land were a daily reminder that sometimes the best response to injustice isn't immediate confrontation, but strategic patience, letting wrongdoers complete their plans before revealing the fatal flaw that brings everything crashing down. And as I walked along my shoreline that evening, watching the moonlight dance on the waves, I felt grateful for both what I had preserved and what I had gained: not just property, but purpose, community, and the deep satisfaction of knowing that justice, however delayed, had ultimately prevailed.